Welcome to Ask the Crown. I'm Stephanie McGrane, and I'm so excited to have Sheri Jenkins joining me today. For the last 20 years, Sheri has been involved in pageantry as a contestant, coach, and judge. She has held titles on the local, state, and national levels. In addition to her many years of pageant experience, Sheri has also held positions with 2 Fortune 500 companies. She has been an executive coach and professional development manager. Welcome, Sheri.
Hello, how are you, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm doing well, and I'm so happy to have you joining me today.
It's great to be here. It's great to get this going.
Well, Sheri, now let me ask you this. You have your own coaching business called Crowning Achievement. And can you tell the viewers what is the difference between being a life coach versus a pageant coach, and what are some of the things that your clients learn from you?
Well, and that's a great question to start off, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what is a life coach and how is a life coach different from maybe an interview coach or some other coach that you use in order to help you achieve your goals with achieving the crown. So I believe that life coaching is all about forward movement and forward momentum. So it's about for people that want to make strides in their life, to make big movements and to really make things happen. So oftentimes ladies that come to see me for pageant coaching, they think they're going to get run through hundreds of questions and taught how to walk. And while I do teach many of those items, what I typically find is 5 minutes into the conversation, I've uncovered some self-esteem issue or confidence issue that they need help with. And sometimes it's as simple as overcoming barriers for how to lose weight and getting those limiting beliefs out of their head and filtering their head with more positive beliefs.
Well, that sounds wonderful, and I believe a lot of what you're teaching overlaps in both life and pageantry. So they can use your tips to excel, in all areas of life.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And oftentimes, again, the interesting thing is that a lot of times I'll coach, say, a teenager, and the mother will see the changes in their daughter, that the next thing I know, the mother is calling me to say, I have some goals I want to reach in my life, and would you work with me? I'm a pageant mom, and I could use some help. And it's great because it opens this whole other genre up to expose them to life coaching, but also I have such familiarity with pageants that these pageant moms that help their daughters out so consistently, it all goes together. It's in perfect harmony.
So everyone is benefiting from that.
Everyone benefits.
Now, I know an important piece of your work is improving the self-image of your clients. But how do you go about doing that?
So what I do, first of all, when someone comes to me, I have them fill out a questionnaire. And the questionnaire goes through, and it's pretty lengthy. So I like to have them fill out the questionnaire, and then I like to have a meet and greet, just so I get some time to spend with them that's kind of off the clock. So it's not an actual session, it's just for me to kind of sink in and understand a little bit about them. But the questionnaire helps me to uncover where are their gaps in their life. Is it how they want to set goals? Maybe it's some confidence issues that they have. It could even be communication skills. When I ask them what are their limiting beliefs, someone may have been told all their life that they're a poor communicator or they're not grammatically correct, and so this thought is stuck in their head, and I work to get it out, to help them become more successful and see themselves wearing that crown.
I love that. It sounds like you are very successful with your clients. And now, holding the positions with the 2 Fortune 500 companies, what do you feel that women can, the skills that women can take from the world of pageantry into the world of business?
Oh my gosh, it's endless. I think about some of the ladies that I've worked with and how they go in and their interview prep starts more with not how to answer the questions, but how they visualize answering the questions and how they visualize themselves in that job. So it really runs the gamut. Like I said, it's communication, it's how they carry themselves, it's talking to them about, look, when you're walking down the hall, you want to pretend that you're in that next position up the chain or up the ladder. If you're a manager and you want to be a director, now's the time to think, as I'm walking down the hall of this Fortune 500 company, I'm a director, and putting that thought in their mind. So they really can take these skills, and I mentioned that whole visualization because in pageantry, that's one of the things I teach is, look, if you want to be Mrs. Fabulous or Miss Fabulous, go at it every single day like you're walking around with that crown in your head already.
I love those tips. So important for people. Can you imagine if people were walking around visualizing that and thinking so positive, the things that they can achieve? I love it. Now, oh, I'm sorry, Sheri.
No, I just said it's great. It's life-changing for a lot of
oh my goodness. And I bet it's so rewarding for you to see the changes in your clients too.
Yeah, incredibly so. And again, I think about a lot of the teens that I work with because, you know, these young girls that are 14, 15, 16 years old, they have a lot on their plate. They're trying to do school activities and finish school work, and then on top of that, they're actively involved in their community, they're participating in pageants, and they feel overwhelmed. And they have a tendency to lash out at their parents or their siblings, and that's where I come in. And not that long ago, I worked with a contestant, and the mother was in tears when we were wrapping up some of her final sessions. She said, "My daughter is a changed person." And the transformation is remarkable, and it was funny because I don't want to use names, obviously, but her daughter didn't even realize what was happening, but she knew there were changes happening, and that's the key for teenagers.
That is incredible. And holding your positions with the Fortune 500 companies, you've had the opportunity to interview over 1,000 people, which is incredible. So we know you know a lot about interviewing. So what tips can you give our viewers about being successful, not only in a pageant interview, but any type of an interview situation?
So my number one tip is listen to the question. And it sounds so easy, but if you were thinking 3 steps ahead of that question being delivered to you and trying to formulate an answer and you don't hear the whole question, you have just missed out on maybe the real component of the question. So listening to the question is my number one tip. And my second tip is use those real life examples. Now, when I'm interviewing for, say, a Fortune 500 company, I'm okay if my answers run a little bit longer because sometimes it takes some time to explain a situation or to go through maybe how you would demonstrate customer service. On the flip side, in the pageant setting, if you're not tight with your answers, those judges, you've lost them because you usually only have a few minutes with them. So crisp, succinct answers, but get to the point.
Good to know. Good to know. And let me ask you about Miss Utah at the Miss USA pageant. And we know, if we watched, that she had difficulty answering her onstage question. But why do you think the public was so difficult on her? I don't think they stopped to realize, you know, she's live on TV in front of millions of viewers. And what can pageant competitors do? What do we do if we find ourselves in that situation?
My heart just broke for Miss Utah, and because, you know, to get to that point, all of the hard work that went into her being on the stage in the top 5, and rest assured, I saw a post out there about, oh, she blew her question and she needed a pageant coach, or I'm sure she had a pageant coach, but something went awry. And I felt so bad for her because we've probably all been there where our tongue got tied and we didn't know quite what to say. Right. What I really wish she had done was I wish she had said, "Can you repeat the question?" Because what I think happened to her is she didn't listen to the whole question. She got ahead of herself, and as a result, she didn't answer it quite right.
Well, that's good for us to remember when we're competing. We can ask to have the question repeated. And of course, like you said, make sure you listen to the entire question. So important. Okay, now Sheri, I am sure that you've heard a lot about crown chasers. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity to watch it on TLC yet. But, how do you feel about shows like that and, how it presents the world of pageantry to the general public?
So you faded out a little bit there at the end, Stephanie, but I think
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, we'll go ahead. I'll repeat that question.
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll do that one. Well, now, Sheri, I'm sure you saw or heard about crown chasers on TLC, and I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity to watch the episode yet, but how do you feel about shows like that? And how do you feel it presents pageantry to the general public?
So I did watch part of the show. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm busy around the house. My day usually ends at 11 o'clock. So I think I got to sit down at 10:50 last night. But I did see the tail end of the show. And again, I felt that it was an unfortunate representation of women competing in pageants. Because I believe that those 5 women on that show, by and large, are kind and sweet and committed to their community as well as their titles and their passions in life. And that's so typical of reality TV that's so typical of reality TV that they just don't represent people as they truly are. They're only seeking to highlight something that's negative to really help create more viewers and to perpetuate negative stereotypes. So I feel bad when I watch shows like Crown Chasers and like Toddlers and Tiaras. They just don't provide a fair representation of the pageant industry or contestants within pageantry. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No problem at all. Well, now let me ask you. You have written a book called Positively Pageantry, Master Your Mind and Capture the Crown. But give our viewers an overview of the information they'll find in your book.
So that is, to me, it's a great handy book to especially read before you're competing in a pageant, because it's filled with, I want to say there's 17 tips in there on how you can maintain that positive mental attitude, but it's also filled with some of my real life examples and stories on how having that positive attitude really helped a contestant through maybe a challenging experience or even a difficult pageant that they were competing in. Maybe the contestants it was a challenging group of contestants, or they just really felt like they needed to overcome some personal obstacles. So it's filled with little anecdotes that I think anyone can probably relate to.
Now, where can we find your book?
So my website is www.PageantLifeCoach.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, there is a link that you can add your name and your email address, and once you click on that, that'll actually send the link for that book to you, and you can print it out or save it online.
That's wonderful.
Exactly.
Now, is this free of charge?
It's absolutely free, yes.
Wonderful. So everyone should be going there and getting a copy of that book. It sounds like there's wonderful tips.
There is.
So be sure to check that out. And let me ask you this. What is the one best piece of advice that you can give to all of the competitors who are watching?
So I was actually thinking about this before we had a chance to meet tonight, because I thought I have 68 different techniques that I use as part of my life coaching practice.
Wow.
And I can't just say, here's one that I can throw out to everyone, because, they're custom for each person individually. But there's 2 in particular that I think anyone could use. The first one is called creative visualization. And with creative visualization, what you do is you create some type of positive saying to yourself. For example, I am the next Miss America. And then as you're saying that, you visualize yourself going through that process of achieving that goal of Miss America. You see yourself on stage performing your talent, flawlessly, going through interview and executing all of your answers with ease and grace, being perfect in swimsuit and graceful in evening gown, and then ultimately having that crown placed on your head at the end. So as you go through that visualization process and connect with it every single day, you actually get to the point where you feel chills on your body, that you're just so, you feel like you're there on stage in Atlantic City and feeling that crown on your head. So that's one example of a creative visualization. It's called the process for actually seeing yourself in achieving that title. The other one I'll give you quickly is, I call it a vision box or a vision board. It's just creating a board that has pictures and sayings of things that you want to be representative of your life. So for example, if you want to achieve a job, maybe that's executive level for White House Black Markets, which is a store on the East Coast. I don't know if it's in your area or not, but let's say you want, that's like a store that you love and you want to work there and so on. You know, you put that on your board and then you see it every day, and ultimately it will come to fruition. But fill your vision board with all of your goals and your dreams and your desires, and as you see it, it manifests itself into reality.
I love that. Great ideas. I love the vision board and box. I also loved how you talked about being so positive and thinking about that. And we know how important the mind is, you know, especially when it comes to pageantry or anything else. You know, we need to think positive about it. And I can't imagine anyone being around you, you know, that's not uplifted and pumped up and motivated. You're just so motivating.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that. It was funny. I watched the show on the swimsuits on Sunday, and
Yes.
and your guest on that show were talking about how pageantry is really a sport, and I agree with the same thing with your mindset. You know, there are sports psychologists that work specifically with athletes in making their minds high-performance vehicles to help them achieve their goals. And it's the same thing in pageantry, using your mind and your mental focus to achieve what you want.
Absolutely. And why wouldn't it be any different? Yeah, completely agree.
Exactly.
And now I know you are getting ready to compete yourself for the title of Mrs. Galaxy. So tell us a little bit about that.
So that's coming up in, gosh, I'll be leaving in just over 2 weeks, so very exciting. I'm in my final phases of making sure everything fits properly and trying to get in those last few squats.
It's a busy time.
Exactly. And, you know, I love the competition. It's funny, my husband just said to me this morning, why do you compete? Because we watched Crown Chasers last night. And he said, why do you compete? And I said, well, first of all, I love that it forces me to pay attention to myself. It forces me to take good care of myself, make sure I'm exercising, make sure I'm eating right, and just paying attention to all the little things that make me better for my children and for my husband. And then I love the competition. And years ago, I was a competitive twirler, and let's just say I don't do that anymore. While I would love to, I think I'm a little bit out of my league, but I love the competition. And then the third thing is, it's really the camaraderie, and not to sound cliche about meeting other women, but you know what? That's the God's honest truth for me, that I love meeting other women that are dedicated to their community and that really have an appreciation for what we're trying to do in the pageant world.
And there are truly some wonderful women out there. And I find them to be more supportive than, you know, some members of my family. So I completely agree with you.
Yes,
yes, absolutely. Now, Sheri, tell us, if viewers want to contact you about coaching or your book, or they just have questions for you, what is the best way to reach you?
So there's lots of ways. Of course, there's Facebook. I have 2 pages out on Facebook. I have my personal Facebook page, and then I also have my Pageant Life Coach page, which is, I guess it's a group or a business page, but you can email me at either one of those pages. The other way is to email me directly to my website, which is Sheri, SHERI, at PageantLifeCoach.com, and I check that email every single day, so I'll get back to you as quick as I can.
That sounds wonderful. And Sheri, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on Ask the Crown. You are so incredible. I can tell you from sitting down at the computer and then doing this interview with you, I already feel pumped up and motivated, and I feel like, woo, I need to visualize some bigger dreams. So it was wonderful having you, and thank you for sharing all of the fabulous tips with our viewers. And we're so excited as you go to compete for Mrs. Galaxy.
Thank you.
I know you will be incredible.
I'm very excited. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Stephanie. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to all of our viewers for tuning in. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to Ask the Crown, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.